Hello, I'm Micks Mowers, Man, and welcome to my channel. In this video, we're going to be working on this lovely Allett Kensington 20k lawnmower that Allett have sent me for purpose of review for video for repair. This is fitted with the Kawasaki FJ100 engine, which is normally known for its reliability and its ultra smooth running. However, this little Kawasaki is a bit of a sick puppy. Most people get a brand spanking new Allett out of their house. I get a second-hand one which doesn't run right. But however, Allett sent me this little lawnmower and asked me if I could do a video to show you guys and girls how to get rid of this problem, which is common with most petrol engines. The problem with this engine is its hunting and surging, which I shall show you now in this next clip. Hunting and surging can be found on the high end and also the low end idle of the throttle. Either way, it is really annoying, and this Kawasaki FJ100 engine should run as sweet as a nut. Let me show you what this machine is doing, and that way you can distinguish between what's hunting and what's not. By turning the machine on and pulling the pull cord, choke if required, and you can hear the engines dropping and the machine not running as sweet as it should. So as you can hear, the revs are dropping up and down. There is a slight miss to the machine. So on the top of a carburetor, you'll see that the arm is actually moving just here. Okay, so this Allett Kensington has got a bit of a hunting and surging issue, which generally means a fuel delivery problem. Let's get it up onto the bench. I'll show you how to take the carburetor apart, how to clean the carburetor properly, how to drain the fuel systems, and one other piece of information as well you may also need. Let's get it up on the bench and get it fixed. So there you go, that's what hunting and surging sounds like, and also you can tell by the throttle governor arm moving backwards and forwards. The main reasons for this can be quite simple. Your air filter could be blocked, dirty or missing. Simply by replacing it could fix that. Also, a spark plug clean or replacement would also fix as well. But one of the main reasons is you're actually running out of fuel. If you're running very low on fuel, that will give a hunting and surging appearance, and by simply putting more fuel into your petrol tank may get rid of your issue. However, if you tried all of those and you're still hunting and surging, then continue to watch this video, because I will show you how to remove a carburetor, the fuel tap, the fuel lines, and do a tank flush and clean, put it all back together, and then hopefully you'll be cutting grass again, laying those absolutely cracking lines that Allett are known for. However, if you don't have the confidence or the tools, you can go to Allett's website, check out their store locator, and find a local Allett dealer near you, take it down there, and they will fix your lawnmower hassle-free. In this video, you're going to be using several tools. You'll need some workshop rag just to keep the area clean. You'll need a container or some kind of magnet tray to keep all your bits and bobs in. You need up to 3 different types of screwdriver, one narrow head flathead, one broad head flathead, and one Phillips. You're also going to need your safety glasses as well, don't forget, because safety first. Also going to require one pair of long nose or normal pair of pliers. You'll also require one open-ended 17mm spanner. You're also going to need a ratchet and socket, one with a 10mm and one with a 13. On top of that, you will also require a simple set of these. These are called gas cleaning files, which you can buy on any selling site for around about £3 or £4. They're very cheap, but they have a selection of round files in there, which we'll be needing to use to clean a carburetor a bit later on. So the main reasons of why your hunting and surging is displaying on your lawnmower is because of the type of fuels that we have here, especially in the UK. E95 and E10 have up to 10% of ethanol within them, which blocks up your carburetor. Now, every single time you undo your fuel cap, you're allowing moisture into your petrol, and also when you remove a cap on your fuel can as well, you're allowing moisture in, and ethanol and water are attracted to each other. And what happens is, every time you open it up, you are allowing moisture into your tank, and the water then starts to separate with the ethanol, and you get a definitive line between what's petrol and what is your bioproduct from your ethanol. Make sure that your petrol is kept within an approved container in the dry, not in direct sunlight or in damp areas. And also make sure that your fuel is no more than 30 days old, because at any time after 30 days old, your fuel will start to break down. You can use fuel after 30 days, but you do run the risk of having poor fuel quality. I'd recommend buying a ethanol-free petrol, or also buying one of the many products like Aspen Fuel, which will give you a much better shelf life on your fuel. So with the hunting and surging problem now diagnosed, we can now get on and fix this issue. But before we go, don't forget to subscribe to Micks Mowers and Man channel, and also subscribe to Allett Mowers as well. They're a fantastic cylinder mower company that are based here in the UK, all hand-built machines, and they're now distributing lawnmowers all over the world. So without further ado, let's get down and dirty, and let's check out this Kawasaki FJ100 on this Allett machine, which seems to be hunting and surging and needs a bit of a fix. Okay, so this fix can be done from the ground or from a tabletop. Just please bear in mind these machines are quite heavy, so if you don't want to put it up onto a tabletop to get it up to your waist level, then just get someone to help you lift it onto the table. However, you can, as I say, do it from the ground anyway, no problem. So safety first, safety glasses go on, and before we work on any machine, you want to make sure the machine is turned off at the mains, and also then remove the HT lead and put it right out of the way of the spark plug. So this machine, there's no way that this machine can then fire up. You can then remove your air filter cover by undoing the top bits just here, and then just rotate your cover down, and then just push at the bottom, and then your cover will be removed, and then you've got your pre-filter and your air filter there. This air filter is actually quite good, to be fair, so that's not an issue there. You can blow it out with a bit of compressed air if need be. So that's the first step, removing the air filter. Let's get on to the next step. Okay, so with the air filter box now removed, we can now get our 10mm socket and ratchet. So I'm using hand tools. I normally use power tools, but just because you guys and girls will be doing it from home, you may not have impacts on what have you like I've got. So I'll do it the same as you guys and girls, and we do it by hand. Simply undo your 10mm, there's 2 of them to do. And then just make sure you have your container to hand, okay? Now what I will say with all my videos that I do on YouTube is if you're in doubt, just take photographs first with your smartphones or what have you. If you've got a smartphone, just take photographs as a bit of a mental note, so you know exactly where everything goes, and you've always got something to refer to. But you guys and girls have been quite lucky here. You're gonna have a whole video courtesy of Micks Mowers to refer back to online anyway. So you've always got something, but that's what I do if I get a bit confused. I always make sure I've got some notes to refer back to. Next, we can then retract this carburetor choke cover, and just make sure this little tiny bit, this goes upwards, just for future reference, it goes up into this breather tube here, okay? We're going to remove that, and then slowly we're going to retract and tip sideways this carburetor cover, and then you've got a little tiny pipe here, which either comes off of the overhead valve cover, or it comes off of this airbox cover itself, which I shall remove and put back onto the valve cover, just so I know it is for future reference. So that's that bit done. That's quite straightforward and simple. Anyone can do that. Next thing we want to do is we want to remove some of these fuel line clips. There's a little pair of long nose pliers or normal pliers, up to you, and just squeeze these 2 little tiny clips together, and then just rotate that one up, and you've got one here as well. Just rotate that one and push that one down. Very, very simple. There's a bit of a nick in that fuel line there as well, I've just noticed. What we can then do is very, very gently just get hold of this fuel line and just slowly start to tease it up into the air. Bearing in mind there is fuel in this machine still, so make sure your tap is turned off. Because what we want to do now, we want to try and catch some of this fuel. So we're going to go for this pipe first. We're going to drop that down ever so gently, just get a bit of a pull. And then what we do then, we're going to get a container with some petrol in to put our petrol in here. All we're going to do is just drop this down, bring this pipe all the way down. Let me just bring it down into shot. There you go. Bring this pipe down, and then turn the tap on, and that will then start to release your fuel out of your machine. I say wear latex gloves if you want to. I don't tend to wear latex gloves because I find they get in the way. It's just the way I've always worked, but I do use hand barrier creams and what have you, just to make sure I do protect my skin. But with latex gloves, they tend to get in the way from when I'm working, but I do wear safety glasses and what have you. So let's get this fuel drained out. I'll be back to you in 2 seconds. Okay, next thing we need to do is now remove the throttle linkage off the top of this carburetor. Just here you have a spring and an arm, and all you have to do is just get hold of the arm and just sort of rotate it, and then it will just lift out of its housing off of the throttle arm, and then just push the spring all the way forward and then release the spring like so. Very, very easy to do. Once that's done, we can then retract the carburetor in its entirety, and the whole carburetor comes away. Keep it upright, put it in a safe place. We'll be coming back to this a bit later on. The next thing we want to do, now all the fuel is out of this system, is now to turn the fuel tap off, onto the off position, and get ourselves that 17mm spanner I was referring to earlier on, okay? Grab a 17mm spanner, and then with supporting the fuel tap itself with your hand, you can then just literally just crack it loose and start to retract this little tiny nut that's sat on top, okay? It is a bit fiddly, but we can all do it. You may have to turn the tap slightly just to start it. Once it's started, it loosens itself up, and then just get your pair of long nose pliers and slowly retract the fuel line off of the top of that as well. Just pinch it up the top, very, very careful, and then retract it. Just make sure you're collecting any fuel that may come out. There'll be a little tiny bit of fuel in there because it's just what's sat inside the residue from the fuel tank. So bring in your fuel container, and just put it down to one side, and then just catch any remaining fuel that you may have. So I'm pinching it off, I'll bring my fuel tap in and just literally just disconnect. There's nothing in there, just very, very small residual amount of fuel. So with that now removed, we can now fully retract our fuel tap just by undoing it. Undo this, this nut. There'll be a nut on top, and then there'll be a washer that sits down below that. Just there. There's your washer, so your washer goes on first. All goes into a magnet tray. We can then retract the actual fuel tap and then put this piece of rag underneath just to stop any fuel going onto your mower. We hate to stain these mowers up. So that just sits there like so. You also just put your fuel tap up a bit higher, on your fuel up a bit higher, just so it doesn't leak anyway. So we've now got a fuel tap off as well. That's a fuel tap, that's a carburetor all off, so we're nearly halfway home. I'm now going to remove the lawnmower from the stand itself, put it onto the floor, and then what we should then do is clean the surface down and then get on to clean the carburetor. Okay, carburetor cleaning time. I'm going to use some latex gloves for this because we'll be using some kind of cleaning solvent to clean the carburetor up. Now, I don't recommend using carburetor cleaner because of the rubber components within the carburetor. Carburetor cleaner can and does expand the rubber components, so use something a bit less harsh is my opinion. I use this product called Pocket Rocket. I'm not affiliated, but it is a good all-round product, a bit like WD-40 and GT85. It's just not as harsh as a carburetor cleaner. So we're going to bring the carburetor in first off. I'm going to grab a 13mm socket, and all we're going to do is we're just going to slacken that one off and then undo that carburetor. Put that to one side, take the bowl nut off. The bowl is very, very clean inside, absolutely immaculate inside, no problems there. And then we're then going to remove the float pin. These generally get stuck, you'll be a bit careful with these. That comes out. Lift your float up, and you will also retain the needle as well, which is inside, okay, so don't lose that piece there. You then want to get one of your flathead screwdrivers, the broader one out of the two, and there's a little tiny brass jet just on the side here that needs to be removed. Just make sure it's a good fit. If it's not a good fit, get one that's slightly bigger, okay? Because if not, you'll shear it off because it is only brass. So a good fit. Once you've cracked it your way, spin that out, put that to one side, don't lose that, and then turn the carburetor onto its side. Now inside the carburetor, that's what mine's just come out, but inside the carburetor there is an emulsion tube which goes up inside the carburetor like so, and when it's stuck in there, it will appear inside the carburetor. Okay, little tiny brass housing inside the carburetor. You may need to get this screwdriver in down the side and just push it onto the side of the emulsion tube just to push the emulsion tube out, okay? But mine's come out that comes, and it always goes in with a bevel bit at the end. That bit goes in last, okay? So the carburetor itself is now actually fully stripped and good to go. There's nothing more needs doing to this other than cleaning. As I say, do not use carburetor cleaner because this O-ring here will expand, and if that expands, then you're looking for a new O-ring. If you don't have one to hand, you'll have to wait 2 or 3 days for one to turn up, so I wouldn't use that. Now what I would now suggest is bring in your solvent cleaner, and literally anywhere where there's a hole, just make sure you get your safety glasses on and down, because if you get this shot in the face of this, it will make it sting a bit. So safety glasses on, and then just a good general helping of carburetor cleaner. Absolutely through every single hole that there is, okay? If you see a hole, put cleaner in it. All the way down the centre, down through the side. Never look at the carburetor directly because it will shoot you in the face. So if you go in here and you're looking back, you're going to shoot yourself straight in the face. So I'll tip it away from you. One clean that way. And then looking down the hole, make sure I get it in the right place. And then tip it away from you. And just start to clean it all the way through. Every single orifice that there is, if there's a hole, spray it in there. Okay. So a general clean all the way around. As I say, cleanliness is godliness when it comes to carburetors. If you're cleaning carburetors on a dirty work surface, you're only introducing dirty stuff back into your carb again. So make sure that all your work surface is clean. If it's not clean, then you're going to be in trouble. Okay. There's a couple of jets just here need to be sorted out as well. So in goes the carburetor, in goes the solvent cleaner. One in there, and one just in there. And I'm happy with that. Okay. So now I'll put that carburetor to one side. I'll lift my safety glasses up now. And here we have our emulsion tube and our jet that needs to be cleaned as well. I'm going to bring out my gas file tip cleaners. I'm going to go for the smallest one possible. And then literally these little tiny holes on this emulsion tube, they all need to be rimmed out. So just a bit of sideways pressure goes onto here. And all we're doing, if it's a bit too small, we'll go the next size up, okay? But you're not looking to take any material off, you're looking just to clean the edges. That's all we're looking to do. So every single hole that's on here needs to be cleaned. Once you have those all cleaned, you can then move on to clean them out with a solvent base as well. One more there. And then get your solvent cleaner, put it in the end, block the end up with your finger, and you want to see it running through all those holes as best you can. If it's not running, run the stuff through to make sure it's nice and clean. Okay, down through this end here, push it all the way through. Lovely. That's that one done, and then again you're going to bring your file tip cleaners in, and you're then just going to rim this one out as well. Bit of sideways pressure, and all we're doing is cleaning the side of a wall up on the jets. All we're doing, we're not actually making the hole any bigger, we're literally just cleaning the side walls up, just to bring them back to a factory spec. And then put your cleaner through. Lovely. So that's that one done. Apart from that, that is a carburetor now cleaned. So we're now good to put our carburetor back together. All we need to do is make sure we've got our needle and float, which goes on first. And then all I will then do is get my little tiny float pin. I should put that through, just start that off. Now you may find it won't go all the way through first time round, just turn your pin around, okay? Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I get my carburetor, I get my cleaning spray. Bit of a clean. All the time I'm cleaning. Get our emulsion tube, that goes in. And our little tiny jet went on the side of the emulsion tube tower. And we're using the broader screwdriver for that. Oh. Just screw that one in. And just nick it down, well seat it. I'm not looking to tighten it, it's just going to be well seated. As I say, it is only brass, so go very, very careful. Well seated. And again, another little clean. All the time I touch this with my hands, which are probably dirty now. So we're always cleaning. That's good. Next thing we want to do is we want to put our bulb nut back on. Now you want to make sure this is going towards the back of the machine, okay? So this would be the way it goes onto the engine. So this tap here needs to go around the back. So it's going to be the opposite to the lowest pipe, opposite to that. And that will then come out of the back of the machine. We're then going to put our little tiny bowl nut back on, or bowl bolt. We're going to screw that on, and that's the little tiny 10mm we discussed, 30mm we discussed earlier on. We're going to nick that up. Now don't hang on that, just got to be hand tight, no more. Just hand tight it, well seat it down, and that will be enough. So that's our carburetor now cleaned. That goes onto a nice clean bit of kitchen roll or workshop towel. What I tend to do with mine is get a piece of towel and just wrap mine up in it and put it to one side. That way it's then clean. Moving on to the actual fuel tap itself, that's the next bit that needs to be done. This very simply undoes here by hand. If you can't do it by hand, you might need to get a little pair of plumber grips on it, or however it will go. Just undo it by hand. Excess fuel being taken out. That comes off. That can tip upside down. There may be water inside there. And then you've got a little tiny washer here, which is beveled. The bevel bit goes right at the bottom. The wider piece goes at the top. Okay, it sits on that orientation, not that orientation. Sit that down. Little tiny screen pops out as well, and another little clean inside there. There's a little tiny hole just there. So a good clean. And we're then going to put our little tiny screen on just on the kitchen roll and give that a clean as well. Lovely. That can then go back in. And then our washer can go back in with the narrowest side facing downwards. Tip our bowl over, give that a clean. Drain it out, and then just reseat that as well. Again, doesn't have to be done closely tight. If you do get a little tiny bit of a leak when you put it all back together, just give it a little tiny nick, just to do it up. So just well tighten that up, turn it onto its side, and then you want to turn your tap into the on position, and we've got a little tiny Phillips screw just here, which we're going to undo. Keep your finger here because there's a bit of pressure comes out, there's a spring just behind it, you see it move. Remove that spring, and then inside here is part of the tap itself. We're going to slowly remove it carefully. There's a little tiny O-ring on there, and this is why I don't use carburetor spray. There's a spring in there as well, which we need to retain. A quick clean inside there. Lovely jubbly. And if you look here, this is what I'm referring to about your fuel. There's your fuel problems there, you see. All that gunk just on the centerpiece. Let me just show you with a pointer. There's your gunk just there. That's all gunk. That's ethanol. Okay. So that's not going to help. So you can clean the carburetor up, but if you don't clean this piece, then all you're going to be doing is introducing dirt back into your fuel system. So make sure it's very, very clean. Well, I'm happy with that. So that little tiny spring can sit into there. There you go, please, Mr. Spring. And then all you've then got to do is just line the two slots up. This is slotted, that's slotted, and it will just sit in there like so. A little tiny bit of pressure just to hold it in place. Once you've got it in, you have to then well seat it. It'll go down all by itself. Once you get a bit of a wiggle, there it goes, it's gone down. Then grab your little tiny Phillips screw and just well seat that little tiny screw. If it's not in the right place, it won't go in. Well seat that, and then just try your tap, just turn it on and off. That's all working. And that's how you clean your fuel tap. Once your fuel tap's now clean, again, I'm going to get another bit of a blue shop rag. I'll put my fuel tap inside the rag, wrap it up, put it to one side. That way, when we now remove all our gloves and what have you, which is all dirty, we know that our carburetor and our fuel tap is now completely clean. So let me get tidied up, get the mower back on top again. I'll be back to you in 2 ticks. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is put our fuel tap back on. Let's just undo that from the kitchen roll. Fuel tap's just got to sit up inside here. That's no drama, we can do that. We're going to bring in the spares and bits and pieces for it, and all it wanted was a washer, which goes on first. It's got to go that way around, Mick. Washer goes on first, followed by the 17mm nut on top of that. I'm just going to screw that down. I'm just going to hold that in place. Not going to do it up just yet. Just going to nick it down just so it's actually just bitten, okay? Because we want to move a few bits about a bit later on. Next what we want to do is bring our carburetor in. Okay, carburetor time. What you need to do here, you need to hook up your governor spring, which will go on the little tiny slot just here, and then the governor arm goes on in the hole there. But you can't do that until it's actually on the 2 studs, engine studs, okay? So what we're going to do is we're just going to slowly fit that onto the engine studs, just so it's in place. And then you grab your governor arm, you just put it into the hole, tilt it back, that's in, and then grab your spring, holding your throttle open, and just grab your spring and put it on. It's as simple as that. It just feeds itself on. Okay, so we're happy with that. That's all in place. So that's that next step done. No problems, no dramas. The next step is to bring down our fuel inlet system. Now, before you do this, what I would recommend you do, okay, is literally grab yourself a little tiny bit of clean fuel, okay, and then get a container, and then just run some clean fuel through your tank and out through this pipe here, just a tank flush, okay? This will get rid of any excessive. There are filters within the tank, but anything that might be floating about will give a bit of a tank flush at the same time. So yeah, a little bit of clean fuel goes into the tank, run it down through the bottom of this tube here, and that will just clean your tank out as well. So the next thing you want to do is then get your fuel hose, your inlet hose, and that just sits onto your fuel tap. Seat that well down, support your fuel tap as well at the same time, and then get yourself a pair of long nose pliers, which I have to hand, and then literally just squeeze your fuel clip together like so, and then just bring that down and well seat it there. Now what you want to do is grab your 17mm spanner, which I think I put mine back. I think I did. And then literally just rotate this nut just so it starts to do up, okay? Now this hasn't got to be on excessively tight, but it has to be on relatively tight just to make sure everything is secure. So all I do is I squeeze mine up and then just twist my fuel hose back just so it clips into place. That's all I do. It's there. It doesn't want a lot, okay? That's now into place. So we're happy with that. Now we're going to bring our fuel line down from our carby. There it is, which needs to go onto here. But I have noticed on this fuel line, there's a little tiny nick. I don't know if it's gone all the way through. I don't think it has, okay? But just to be safe rather than sorry, all I'm going to do is grab a pair of my my snips and my workbench. And all I'm going to do is just going to cut that piece off. Now, you're very lucky that you get a little piece of extra pipe with it. You know, there's always plenty of pipe, okay? As long as there's no kinks going on, then we're good to go. So all I'm going to do with this is literally just going to snip this off, just literally right where it's, I think there's a bit of a snip there, okay? And then this one here can then go onto your carby. You might need a pair of long nose pliers just to help it go on. But once you get it started your way, get your pair of long nose pliers and just help that go on. Just pinch it, don't damage it. Wiggle it, like so. And then get your fuel clip, there should be one around here somewhere, probably on the bottom here somewhere, is it? Where's it gone? There it is, around the side, all the way around. And then just going to squeeze that open and then put it onto there like so, have it out the way. So that's that, quite straightforward, quite simple so far. I mean, it's only taken about 25 minutes so far to clean the fuel tap up, clean the carburetor up, all that sort of good stuff. Do you remember I said about having the drain screw right at the back, which is where it is? So now if you need to drain your carburetor, you can do, okay? So just a quick little side note, if you're not using no stabilisations or aspins or anything like that, and you at the end of the year you want to drain your machine out of fuel, my best advice to you is to turn your fuel tap off, just here, and then disconnect this pipe off of your carburetor, okay? Take this one off, bring this down into a clean container, and then turn your fuel tap back on. That will then drain 99% of your fuel coming out of your tank through this pipe here into a container. However, you'll still have fuel in the bottom of this bowl here, and that's where it tends to sit. And simply by unscrewing this little tiny ring on here, which I showed you before, just by unscrewing that off of your mower, at the end of the season, drain all your fuel out with your fuel tap turned on. There will be absolutely no fuel inside your machine come next year. And just remember to put it back on before you start away. But that's how you drain all the fuel out of the system. Therefore, there's nothing left in here. However, there's still a little tiny bit left in this carburetor. And what you may want to do is just undo this screw and drain all the excess fuel via this screw here as well. That way, come next season, when you're ready to start mowing again, you'll have a completely fresh, clean system to work with. Brand new fuel going in, not the fuel we saved from last year. And then you'll be able to start your machine up with no problems at all. Okay, so we're nearly there. What I'm now going to do is I'm now going to put my HT lead back round towards my spark plug. So I'm going to put air covers back on now. I want my carburetor box to go on, and it goes on this way up, okay, with a little tiny bit channel come up here. And that's the bit that clips onto that little tiny pipe we had off the overhead valve cover earlier on. Bring it over once it's connected and just sit it over the two engine studs, and it just sit in there just like so. Lovely. We're then going to get our choke carburetor cover with a little tiny bit that goes up here, up into this section here. Just going to slide that on into place. We're then going to grab our two 10mm and just start one off. Just get it started, just so it holds it on place, and then grab the other 10mm and just start that one off. And then just with a little tiny socket, just going to start them all the way down, just to kiss them down into place. There's one. There's a second. And I'm then going to change it over to a ratchet, just to snug them down. Again, nothing on these machines needs to be done up as if you're hanging on it. Okay, this just needs to be just snugged up and kissed up. That's what it needs to be. Just need to treat this machine with a bit of love. So that's that one nicked up, and then let's go for the next one. That's that one done up. That's good. Just check your choke is working, which it is on mine, no problem. We're then going to go for the air filter and pre-filter. Air filter sits inside, just like so. It sits it there, and then all this does here, this just sits, there's a little tiny slot underneath here. This then sits just on that slot just there. All we're going to do is push it all into in one movement, push it in, and then do up this little tiny screw up the top here. We're going to do that all the way up. Done. make sure all the air boxes are all on where it should be. That's it, pushed in tight. Your HT lead then can go back on. The machine is still safe because I'm still working on the machine. We can then just push your HT lead back onto the spark plug. You'll hear a click eventually. There it goes, and that's on. That's that. Right, so the machine, as far as I'm concerned, has now had a carburetor clean and a fuel tap clean. We've had a tank flush as well, if you put fresh fuel all the way down through. We've made sure that the governor arm and spring has been attached back to the carburetor. Everything has been put back into where it should be and nothing is missing. I've got no spare parts in my parts tray, and that's one advantage to using a parts tray, is if you take something apart and you've got a spare washer or a spare nut left over, you know you haven't put it back together right. So follow that little way. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to take this machine back outside now, and we're going to fire it back up, put some fresh fuel in, make sure we have no fuel leaks. If we have, might have to do a few bits up or tighten a few nuts down or what have you, but as long as there's no fuel leaks, we can then go forward and start the machine up. There should be no way of having to adjust the carburetor at this time because we haven't actually changed any of the adjustment at all as of yet. This is all done on the throttle, but hopefully we won't have to adjust that. If we do, I'll show you how to do that. But fresh fuel in, meet you outside, and we'll go for a fire up. Okay, so now the Allett Kensington 20K has now been sat on the lawn for about 5 minutes. I've turned the fuel tap to on, just to make sure that we get no fuel leaks coming through, and there's nothing coming through at the bottom of the bowl or anywhere else on the machine. I have put the pull cord back on up the top here where it belongs because I have been working on the machine and it was right in the way when it's just here. So I'm now going to turn the machine on, and what we're looking for is for the machine not to hunt at the lower end of revs and not to hunt at the top end of revs, and just a smooth all-round running action. What you may have to do is put a little Phillips screwdriver just behind here just to bring some fuel down to your carburetor. You may get a bit of rough running just as the machine starts to fire because it is putting fuel through. So just be mindful just to flood your carburetor first. Once you've done that, do a little tiny screw back up and then you should be good to go. Let's fire it up and let's have a look, see if we haven't fixed the hunting and surging at the lower end of the revs and also at the higher end of revs, and a lot more smoother running, which is what this Kawasaki FJ100 engine is known for. So, low end revs, no hunting and surging. Top end revs, no hunting and surging. Running as absolutely sweet as a nut as the very first day it was manufactured. Happy mowing. Okay, so there you have it. That's the Allett Kensington 20K now all up and running with the Kawasaki engine running exactly as it should do. No hunting and surging at the low end, no hunting and surging at the top end, and running as smooth as what they're renowned for. The Allett Kensington, amongst other Allett machines, are renowned for their fantastic running ability and also for cutting those absolutely crisp lines that you would find in your lawn, which are a cut above the rest. That machine was sent to me free of charge from Allett for purpose of review for repair video only, and I will be having it back very, very shortly. I will miss it, but hopefully there'll be more videos coming from myself and Allett very, very soon. If you like this little episode of Micks Mowers and Mower Man, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, whack your bell, set notifications to all, that way you'll be told next time I upload another video, and don't forget to subscribe to Allett Mowers as well. I look forward to the next episode of Micks Mowers very, very soon, but until then people, don't forget, much more importantly, take her easy.